Episode 52. This week we cover Assignment Earth. This one was much, much better than the last episode, and it'll be far, far, far superior than the next episode. This was a fun little episode. Final episode of Season 2. The season finale. It was a backdoor episode because they had planned to spin off a new series using Star Trek as the launch pad. And he sure did. The premise of this show, the Enterprise had purposely time traveled to 1968, which was the year the episode ran. They wanted to see how Earth survived all the major crises. They wanted to see what they did to get past that, apparently. So they're observing Earth when all of a sudden they intercept a transporter signal, which was a thing for this one episode. I don't think it had ever happened before or since that they intercepted a transporter signal. Someone was beaming aboard. Scott was telling Kirk something's beaming aboard, and Kirk's like, I'll be right there, and he runs down, and he's like, hey, something's beaming aboard, which they knew already. Then a guy in a business suit holding a pussycat comes aboard, and he's baffled. He doesn't know what's happening. He picks up on the fact he's aboard a starship from the future instead of 1968 Earth. He says that he's a human being who had been taken to a alien planet 1,000 light years away. It was hidden. They were like, we never heard of that planet. He's like, because it's hidden in your time too. He says he has to get to Earth to make something right, or otherwise the timeline will be destroyed. Kirk doesn't know if he's telling the truth or not. He doesn't know what to do. So he's going to have to investigate. The guy in the suit, Gary 7, tries to break free and transport back down to Earth. Breaks through all of them, including Spock's nerve pinch. Kirk has to stun him with the phaser. They take him to security. Kirk orders McCoy to run some tests, make sure he's human. McCoy running the test, and they do a ship-wide meeting. He asks all the departments via the video screen to chime in. Everything's inconclusive. Every single thing. They don't know if he's telling the truth or lying. Same exact situation they were in when they left the transporter room with the prisoner. Nobody knew for sure. McCoy said he checked out as human, but was too perfect in condition to actually be human. There were no flaws whatsoever. He said that's a red flag. That was pretty much Bones' contribution to the episode. Gary 7, in the holding cell, pulls out this little metallic cylinder. It deactivates the force screen and then makes the security guard goofy. Never was explained what it actually was or did. It was more or less a plot convenience. It did whatever they wanted it to do at the time. No explanation how it worked. But Gary 7 escapes, goes down to Earth. He goes into an office building in what looks to be Manhattan. And he can't figure out why the other agents that were supposed to be there have failed to do what they were supposed to do. So he says he's going to have to do the assignment if they don't immediately find the agents that were supposed to be there. Then a secretary shows up. And she's like, well, they won't know I'm late because nobody's been here for 3 days. And then Gary 7 walks into the room and starts questioning her as if she's one of the agents. Clearly she's not, but he keeps saying, oh, you're in your role really well here, but come on, tell me the truth. And he's telling her all these things she shouldn't hear. And he finally catches on she's just a regular human being from 1968. It's got no clue what's going on here. She says that the previous employer she had, which presumably were the agents, told her that they were working on an encyclopedia. They were not, apparently. So the cylinder locks her in the office. He goes into this other room where he's got a computer and a portal that leads to other times and space, apparently. And he finds out that the agents were dead. They got a news report descriptions match the agents. He's like, oops, well, I guess I gotta go stop the nuclear warhead that the United States is launching, because Earth can't handle the nuclear crisis here. They're not advanced enough. They'll blow themselves up, so I gotta stop that. Kirk and Spock get down to Manhattan. They've outfitted themselves in suits. Spock wearing a beanie. They find the right place with Scott's help. They get up there, and the secretary, of course, is freaking out. Spock forgets that he's got the nerve pinch. Just manhandles the girl while she's screaming for help. I don't think that would play in 2020, but they did it in 1968 and it was fine. They finally get in the room and Gary Seven had already left. He'd gone. Went through the portal with his pussycat. They get to the McKinley Air Base. He's knocking security guards out with his cylinder, telling them to take naps. He starts work on dismantling this rocket that's going to have a nuclear warhead attached. They were going to satellite the Earth, apparently. And apparently that would trigger all the other world powers into sending up their nuclear weapons. And then the Holocaust would happen. Unless he stopped it. Well, he's working on the thing with his pussycat, and Kirk and Spock managed to beam him to the Enterprise, and then the secretary stumbles across the button that brings him back to the office by mistake. And he's like, that was a close one. And Kirk and Spock end up going to the base. They get arrested. They're in a holding cell. They eventually use a distraction, get sent to Gary Seven's office. The secretary who would waffle on helping Gary Seven and not is there. Everyone's there. They stop Gary Seven from dismantling the nuclear bomb remotely, which it was never explained why he didn't just do it remotely to start. They finally, at the very last second, allow him to stop the nuclear warhead, because nobody still at this point knew for sure if they should stop him or not. He stops it. Everything was fine, apparently. Timeline restored. Kirk and Spock wish him well, and they're like, you'll probably get several adventures now. That was pretty much it. Some interesting facts. This was supposed to be the launch of Assignment Earth, the TV show, but it never went into production. The network decided to scrap the idea, even though they were going to backdoor it into Star Trek. This was also the episode where NBC begged people to stop sending letters to save the show. They'd renewed it for a third season, but they had so many letters coming in from fans saying, we want Star Trek renewed, that they put a crawler up at the end of this episode to say, knock it off, we will renew it, just stop it. This is also one of the very, very few times a Star Trek episode was entirely set in the past. All of it was in 1968. And they just nonchalantly time travel in this one. Usually it was an accident, or there was some, like, desperate need to go back in time, but this one they just willy-nilly did it to observe. All the regulars were there, including Sulu. Also, this was Terry Garr that played the secretary. She, of course, went on to acting fame. She was in Friends as a recurring character. But Terry Garr hated the experience. She wouldn't even discuss Star Trek after this. Didn't want to discuss it in interviews in any way. She wanted to be removed completely from it. Didn't like the experience. Presumably she would have continued on with the spin-off show if it had happened, but it did not. But that's pretty much the end of Season 2 and Episode 52.